We hear a lot today about threats to democracy, threats to democratic norms and standards, and we should be concerned about our Republican democracy. Right now, we're in the midst of an election where the Democratic Party candidate is been about 3 weeks since Kamala Harris has been nominated as the Democratic presidential nominee, and she hasn't given a single interview. She's done rallies where nobody can ask questions, but she hasn't done a press conference and she hasn't done any interviews. I'm sorry, in a democracy, it is important for major political candidates to give interviews. Voters need to be able to ask questions and get an idea of where the candidate's coming from so they can make an informed decision. Basic democracy. Well, I have to hand it to CNN's Jim Acosta. He interviewed a Kamala Harris surrogate recently, today, and he kind of, put the heat on him for it. Take a watch this.
Michael, I'm sure this is not going to be the first time you've heard this question, but the Trump campaign is also going after the vice president for not doing enough interviews, for not holding a press conference. Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the vice president and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country
so
since
busy.
The launch of this campaign and adding Governor Walz to the ticket. You saw the ways in which they went across the battleground states last week, generating rallies of thousands, 10,000 here, 15,000 there. But
Michael, a campaign rally is not a press conference, right?
Inclusive.
Do you mind if I cut in? I mean, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Why hasn't she had a press conference? She's the vice president. She can handle the questions. Why not do it?
He asked the second time. Here you go.
Oh, we absolutely are going to do it. You hear her take questions as she's out on the stump. And as she said last week, we're going to be having a sit-down interview here before the end of the month. What she's going to be focused on, what this campaign is going to be focused on, is communicating directly with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. That's why she and Governor Walz
to a press conference this week.
Past week. That's why we're doing a bus tour in Pennsylvania as we head into Chicago. And that's why we'll sit down for an interview before the end of the month to make sure that we can have a deep dive conversation about the vision that Kamala Harris has for where she wants to take this country and the contrast that we're going to have with Donald Trump. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to do that throughout the rest of
one interview by the end of the month.
This month and throughout the rest of the campaign.
I don't want to belabor this, but one interview before the end of the month. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are actually going to decide this election, and that is going to be
so he never answers, and that's sort of the point I made. You can't be a major political candidate and not be asked questions. They have one debate plan, and to the larger point about democracy, look, the Democratic president we have right now, Joe Biden, there were no primaries when he became the nominee for his party. That's not unusual for a sitting president. Well, now we have the current vice president who was just given the nomination and there were no Democratic votes held. Okay, there's that. So the people who complain all the time about threats to democracy, threats to democratic norms and standards, one candidate in the Democratic Party is not giving any interviews and not being challenged in any fashion. I'm sorry, Kamala Harris, but at what point do you stop calling your party the Democratic Party?